What up, people? It's your boy Chig from Granit Eagle Eye, coming to you again with another video. This time it is a late night with Chig, where I talk to you about Arsenal topics, football topics, anything that might be on my mind. This won't be a particularly long show. Obviously, I'm coming to you even later than I normally would. Normally, I try and target these shows at 11 p.m. What I am going to start to do, I was thinking about doing this yesterday, but time just ran away with me, is I'm going to introduce a new show called the Debrief. I might think of a snazzier title. And basically, it just talks about big games that Arsenal are in and what the ramifications of that are. And also just to address any kind of particular comments that I might not have time to address when I'm doing a show with Lee. And I might just highlight those and have an opportunity to respond to those. So it's a way of even making the show even more interactive than I currently do have my show. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. So let's talk about Arsenal Football Club. It's been a while since I've done that. Apologies if it does feel like it's been a while. Quite honestly, I'm just not feeling great in terms of still trying to battle this ridiculous cough of mine. But I'll get there. I'll get there. God willing, I'll get there. So yeah, bear with me while I am doing that, because then I can squeeze out these shows in between. Anyway, let's talk about Mohamed Elneny. The man has seemingly found his mojo, and I'll tell you what, he's showing form well beyond a £5 million player. He's someone who, when he arrived in 2016, he's never really flattered to impress. He's always he's just one of them kind of guys that kind of just goes about his business. If you are a type of person who owns a business or who's in higher management of a business, he's the type of guy who you would employ, and he ain't going to outstand you. He's not going to show particularly a lot of ambition, but he's just going to be the by the numbers guy. Tick, tick, tick. Every appraisal, standard. You know, you'll just about do what is necessary to stay in the role. He was someone that was brought as a bit of an alternative, I guess, to Coquelin. He was a little bit more combative, a little bit more rougher around the edges. Mohamed Elneny was seen as more of a kind of a footballing type of person, because one thing that was apparent, at least to me when he came on board, was that he was certainly a better passer than Mohamed Elneny. Oh, sorry, a better passer than Francis Coquelin. But that was more or less it. There was nothing particularly special about him. There was nothing that made me think to myself, oh, this guy is going to be special. Victor, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. I'm trying. I'm with you. Yeah. And yeah, he was never someone who kind of made me think to myself, would be anything more than he was. And, you know, I think you see a lot of people lauding praise on Mohamed Elneny, rightly so, after not only, let's be fair, not only his form against Manchester United, where he showed really good form, but actually he's shown decent form all season. You know, I still hark back to that time where I literally turned to Lee in the wash-along against MK Dons. I was like, oh no, looks like we're going to keep Mohamed Elneny then, because he's showing good form. But you see, for me, this is for me. I said it lightheartedly, and I said it with dread, because it made me think to myself, this is just another reason to not get a Thomas Partey, which I thought was going to be the case at the time. But actually, for me, I have no issue with someone working hard and someone showing that they can reapply themselves and win their place back and win the trust back of the fans and win the trust back of the manager. And, you know, yeah, he said something that pissed a lot of people off, me in particular, when he said, oh, you know, before Mikel Arteta, we didn't know we should give 100% before. And I'm like, well, What did you think you were supposed to be doing here? You're at a big club. What did you think you were supposed to be doing? And you know, it never really sat well with me. But it was also nothing that we didn't already deep down know as Arsenal fans, that we'd already always suspected as Arsenal fans, that these guys weren't giving their all. They were going through the motions. And the one thing I will say for Arteta, whether you want to credit Arteta with this or not, is that there are clearly a number of players, for whatever reason, have stepped up their level recently. It hasn't gone unnoticed that Hector Bellerin has at least stepped up to a consistent level of about a 6 out of 10. You know, it hasn't gone unnoticed that for the past year or so, Granit Xhaka, who I'm obviously going to come back to, has stepped up and been a little bit more consistent. It hasn't gone unnoticed that Shkodran Mustafi, who in some ways is such a calamity and is definitely one of the worst players to play for an Arsenal team, there is a reason why last season he was one of our best defenders, and actually statistically was outperforming certain defenders who you would think, huh? So, and I think that is got to do with demanding more from these players. You know, I always said it that, you know, forget anything else, forget selling players, forget bringing players in. Actually, you could squeeze a good 20% more out of this team because they were just going through the motions before. Mohamed Elneny more or less confirmed that. And now you kind of move on and you move ahead to this season where there were a lot of eyes on the team. There seems to be a very basic split in terms of Arsenal fans. I think you've got the certain Arsenal fans that are, and this is not a criticism, this is just the state of play. You've got a certain Arsenal fans that no matter what are looking to give Mikel Arteta a chance, no matter what. You can't tell these guys any different. The way they see it is even saying anything that is against the positive or the norm or the achievement of the goal, even if it's an observation, means that you are against the club. You know, you can't observe anything. You can't say anything, you know, anything less than whoop-de-doo, celebrate. You must have a hard on every time Arsenal win. You have to be, it's like you can't say anything different. See, for me, I'm not with that. But I'll be also honest, because I'm all about balance. You know, I'm also not with this kind of unless I'm shitting on Arteta all the time, you know, then I don't know about football or this, that, and the other. Or unless I hate Arteta, then I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm also not with that. I live in a world of nuance. I work in a world of nuance. And I've always been very consistent. This is why I hate it when people start talking to me about, oh, well, Chig, you got to be careful that you're not turning into X person, or you got to be careful that you're not doing this, or you're not doing that, or you're not following the crowd, or motherfuckers, if you know me, take me for what I say, not for what you perceive that I'm doing. You know? I'm very much see nuances. I don't hate Mikel Arteta one little bit. I know people who do. I don't disagree with them. Sorry, I don't agree with everything that they say. I don't disagree necessarily with everything that they say. I don't hate Mikel Arteta. This is a man who is clearly very ambitious, who played for Arsenal Football Club, the biggest club in his footballing playing career, and an opportunity comes to coach that football club. Who the fuck is not taking that chance? As an Arsenal fan, I would take that chance, even though I know it's an impossible job. As an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't even hesitate. What? And then you're also going to pay me £6 million for the privilege? Yeah. I will now. For me, you know, I will never, ever, ever, screw my face at somebody who or curse somebody because they have ambition and they want ambition. My issue has always been with the board. My issue has always been with the board, and once again, that's another thing I've been very consistent about on this channel, which is why I don't know why you're telling me I'm being like I'm being someone else. I've always said the same thing. I've always said the same thing. I said I said it. Even you check a video I did maybe 6 months ago, that even if Mikel Arteta wins the Champions League, don't get it twisted, I'll be happy. I will laud this man with praise. Don't tell me that still don't tell me that the gamble, that it wasn't a huge gamble taking him on. In that instance, yes, of course, the gamble paid off. It's not a justification, though. That's just the result. You can't just say, oh, well, we ended up winning the Champions League, so it paid off. So that doesn't distract from the fact that you took a huge risk with our club. And for me, it remains a huge risk, because just like any one of us that would obviously take the job of a lifetime managing Arsenal Football Club, the man is learning on the job. And that's why sometimes I do cut him slack. Sometimes I do cut him slack. Like sometimes if, there's been a player that, like Pepe. Pepe is a very good example, actually. You guys know I love Nicolas Pepe. I was singing Nicolas Pepe's name way before Hakim Ziyech, way before some other names that you've seen me sing names of. Right? I think he has the talent. I do think he is what is turning out to be a luxury player. I do think that there is clearly a certain way of playing him that we've not tapped into yet. And he's a conundrum. He is someone that I can understand how he frustrates. I can understand why people be pissed off by him. I can understand why people are tapped out to him. I can understand why people want him sold. So in that instance, sometimes I cut Arteta a little bit of slack. Yeah, and I hear the counter argument to that, because believe me, I've heard Lee say it enough. Lee's counter argument to that would be something on the lines of, all right, well, why don't you play him, 6 or 7 or 8 times or this, that, and the other? And I hear that. I do think when the man plays well, we should be playing him 3, 4, 5 times in a row and seeing what happens. But I am also not about playing him 8, 9 times if he's not on form, because then I can't then say to somebody else, well, I'm just going to keep playing them regardless of form. Hector Bellerin is the reason that we pissed off Hector Bellerin, because the man doesn't train well, doesn't play well, is in the team week in, week out. I can't then say, well, Pepe is hot and cold, so I have to play him 15 times to get the best out of him. So that's the part I do disagree with Lee. I do understand what he's eventually trying to say, that you can't just keep taking the boy in and out of the team, especially when he's scoring and playing well. But it's about finding balance. As I said at the very start of this thing, everything is about nuance. Everything is about the gray area. Everything is about balance. And you tend to find balance and nuance in experience. So, all right. So you're probably sat there thinking, all right, Chig, so what's all this about then? What are you actually talking about? So I come to one of the biggest conundrums that Mikel Arteta, I think, will have to face this season. I always said to myself that Arsenal does not need a central defender. As it turns out, Gabriel is doing really well. He's blossoming into a fantastic player. I still don't believe necessarily that we need a defender next to him. I've seen people say that, oh, they'll still buy another defender. Nope. I've always said, for me, the core of our midfield is the problem. Because unfortunately, we don't have runners in the midfield, not even from an offensive point of view, but from a defensive point of view. You know, it's like we prefer anchors as opposed to chasers. Or that's the way I would describe it. So people who are more static in their movement as opposed to going to hunt for the ball. And I felt like if we could improve that core, that will go a long way to helping our defense. Guess who I identified straight away? Thomas Partey, a player which some of you never thought we would get. Understandably so. He's a Champions League player. He plays for Atletico Madrid. He plays for an illustrious manager. Why the fuck would he come here? And I told you guys that, listen, if there's one thing that works in our favor, it's the fact he's African. And Africans admire Arsenal from afar. They admire a lot. They admire Chelsea too. They admire Liverpool too. They admire United too. But there's something different about Arsenal. And that was the only reason I gave us a chance. I was, once again, I was very consistent about that line of thinking. And we ended up getting him for what I think people are realizing now, a bargain price of £45 million. But we still missed that partner. And in some ways, I still think we missed that partner next to him. That's someone that can play deep and that can set traps. And I think a lot of people figured, oh, well, you know, Granit Xhaka's left-footed and Partey's right-footed, even though Partey prefers playing on the right-hand side of the two. But okay, cool. On the left-hand side of the two. But okay. Well, surely that means that it must be great together. And in my mind, I'm thinking, but why have you already allocated one of those places to Granit Xhaka? Why? I would prefer Ceballos. Ceballos is not the quickest, but at least he runs. At least he's a bit dynamic. At least he can pass the ball. You know? And I still think, by the way, sat here, in spite of what we saw against United, that partnership will work. It will work better than Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey. But the one thing we didn't bank on, the one thing that I'll confess I didn't see coming, was Mohamed Elneny slotting in next to Thomas Partey and that working. But in my mind, I shouldn't have been surprised. I shouldn't have been. I should have realized that it would work. Because Mohamed Elneny is, and I said this, and I think people got offended. I had one smart-ass dickhead in the comments that said some shit like, oh, imagine Chig saying that Mohamed Elneny is not bright when he's so unanimated. Because I think in his weird mind, because I wasn't nutting everywhere about the fact that Arsenal had beaten United, that meant that I had no right to comment on the intelligence of Mohamed Elneny. I don't know. Weird reasoning, right? But okay, let's go with that. It's a weird sense of thinking, but let's go with that. Let me be honest with you about my review. I rewatched it, and it wasn't a case of, you know, I wasn't animated. I'll be honest, it confused me. There was a couple of things that confused me. First of all, I didn't think Arsenal were amazing. I think we played reasonably well. I think we deserved the win, but I don't think we were amazing. The second thing I didn't understand was, how the heck has Mohamed Elneny upped his level so badly? It was more one I was just a little bit stunned by it, I guess, by the whole thing. And I needed a couple of days. This is why I didn't come out yesterday. Because I knew yesterday everyone was going to do their review, their kind of reviews and their, you know, their post-mortem reviews and stuff like that. And I still wanted another day to kind of really dissect it and think about it. And I did something I never do for Arsenal matches anymore. I actually rewatched the game. I rewatched the game. Now knowing what everything happened, the one thing I will change, my score for Rob Holding, I gave him a 4. I'll give him a 6. I will give him a 6. I'll hold my hands up on that. I think he did better than I initially gave him credit for. Still think he was unfit, but I think all things considered, actually, he didn't do too badly. I thought Mohamed Elneny was magnificent. And one thing I said to Lee at the time was, I feel like Mohamed Elneny is one of those sort of players that actually just plays to the level of the person next to him. He's just one of those sort of players. The other thing, I guess the only thing I can compare it to, and you guys won't like the player I compare him to, is, but Spurs fans will get it, is Sissoko. Do you remember Sissoko? He is a guy who came over from Newcastle frustrated. I remember Newcastle fans were actually laughing at Spurs for a while. Do you know? And then something clicked in the season before Pochettino left. Something just clicked. Don't know what happened. I remember Sissoko was basically, they were trying to shift that boy out the door. They were trying to shift him out the door. And I think they decided to partner him. First of all, they took him from the wing because they kept playing him on the wing. And they played him centrally next to Dembele, I think it was. I actually think it was a game. I think it was probably a game. I think it was probably against us, but I think it was slightly before that. And he was fantastic in that game. Absolutely fantastic in that game. Like he was brilliant. Just he was tough tackling. The timing was great. By the way, you'll notice, those of you that are trying to correct how I say it, if you know what I'm saying, go with it. I'm not gonna rise to it at the moment. And I remember he was not and Ndombele, because that's this season, Carter. I'm talking about a couple of seasons ago. And he was just, something clicked and he was suddenly playing really well. The timing was great. And then I remember, it was funny because I remember watching that Tottenham documentary, was it a few weeks ago? And they mentioned that he had now become a player who was 1 foot out the door to being one of the most influential players in that squad. And even Jose was like, oh yeah, okay. It just shows you that players can do it. If you pair them up right, if you pair them next to that person, they're humble players as well. So they're not players that think they're superstars or anything, you know. And Sissoko was just one of those sort of players who I guess was just popular in the dressing room. People liked him. He didn't have an ego or anything. Supposedly, he's really good with people. So they were able to kind of mold him. And he'd become, just overnight, that one of the most important players. When Dembele left, and I was expecting Spurs' midfield to just collapse. Because I remember how well Dembele used to play against us. He was the one that held it up. So I thought to myself, okay, so what, is Mohamed Elneny that guy? And I looked at his performance yesterday. And yes, before somebody says it, I know we played on Sunday. Like I said, I rewatched it yesterday. Just no commentary, nobody else in the room. Literally just me and the game. And actually, I thought he was brilliant. He supported Partey in everything he did. He and Partey were constantly talking. That was the one thing I missed. They were constantly talking, not screaming at each other or anything, constantly talking. Like I said during the watch along, Partey was pointing a lot. Mohamed Elneny was support. Sometimes Mohamed Elneny will take the lead. Partey will clock what Mohamed Elneny is doing, drop off. As soon as Partey would try and win the ball, Mohamed Elneny will make some space for him just to support him. It was brilliant. It was constant running, constant pressure. There was a moment in the 90th minute, where Mohamed Elneny still thought, I don't care. I am pressing. I'm going to press, and I'm going to press, and I'm going to press. This is the 90th minute. And I think he pressed it to the point where the United players got shook and they kicked it off out of the field. And I thought, rah, what the heck has happened to him? And then I thought to myself, this, for me, was brilliant. More than just the fact that we'd broken a hoodoo, or we got an important 3 points, or we're 4 points off top, or we're 1 point off top 4, or all the other kind of bars that people... Well, actually, for me, it was the prospect that maybe we've shown one of these 3 managers that insist that Granit Xhaka has to start every single game. That we've finally shown that actually, maybe, just maybe, Granit doesn't need to start every game for us. But that made me think to myself, Granit has 1 more year left on his deal, doesn't he? Would he put up with being second fiddle to Mohamed Elneny? That's why I asked Lee that question. Because I can see a new contract coming for at least one of those players. And I guess my question to you lot would be, if there had to be a new contract given, who would you feel comfortable that contract being given to? Mohamed Elneny or Granit Xhaka? And that might seem an obvious question, but for those of you who believe that Granit Xhaka has this ceiling that is not obvious, that's not clear to a lot of us, may struggle with that question. Oh no, you're right, Ben. He does have 2 more years. He does have 2 more years. But if the board are to their word, you would expect that at least by the end of the season, they've got to decide who they want to keep. That for me is an interesting choice, because for those of you who will say neither, and I can understand why you would say neither, my question to you is then this: who would you get? Who would you get? Because I think you need a player like a Mohamed Elneny. You guys know I don't particularly rate Joe Willock, so I wouldn't keep him. Granit Xhaka, for me, I'd look for an excuse to get rid of him. But would Arteta be brave enough to get rid of him? I don't think so. Then there's going to be the romantics like Calvin that say, oh, well, we should go back in for Aouar in January. Those are the same romantics that this time last year, said, or we should go back in for Upamecano in January. I'm like, bruh, do you know Arsenal? No, Arsenal don't move like that. Come on. I told you what weren't going in the summer. So why would he go in January? He's waiting for Real Madrid. So I just thought to myself, for me, I thought I just wanted to hold fire on the video I did. I didn't want to kind of just have a post-mortem where I was talking about how great the performance was and give you the samey sort of analysis. Yes, I thought Partey, to me, was still man of the match, closely followed by Elneny, closely followed by Gabriel. I thought Holding was a little bit better than I initially gave him credit for. And it just made me think to myself, would Arsenal, moving into that Villa game, where, let's face it, against Aston Villa, we're going to need our midfield better than ever. They have such a dynamic, such an energetic midfield, not to mention they've lost their last 2 games. They're going to need a result. And it made me wonder, do you see Mikel Arteta being brave enough to say, Granit, sit this one out? Because let's face it, Barkley's running rings around you. McGuinn is running rings around you. Grealish is running rings around you. We need people that are actually going to run in this game. Can you see Mikel Arteta saying, all right, Mohamed Elneny, Partey, you're up? And how many of you guys, if he did that, think that they would pull off a similar sort of result? That'd be my question to you guys. But anyway, I digress. I told you this wouldn't be a particularly long video. The reason being is because I'm doing a membership stream on Wednesday evening. So we're going to have a real discussion about this on Wednesday. I said Wednesday, like Wednesday's not tomorrow. Well, tomorrow evening. So around 7 tomorrow, we can have a real discussion about this some more. And I just thought I'd pose that question for you. Tomorrow, I'll also do my preview for Arsenal versus Mold, because obviously we've got a game on Thursday. So make sure you don't miss out on those 2 shows tomorrow. All right, I am out of here. Apologies for this video being so late, but I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, the views I got for the review, even though it seemed to anger a lot of people, 14,000 views. I was well happy with that. So thank you so much for the reviews I got. So for the views I got for the review against United, please do me a favor. This is how powerful likes can be. I've got like over 500 likes of that. If you can do me a similar sort of job, at least with the likes, and smash those likes for me, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are a little over 350 away from 10K. So let's see if we can get that box ticked off immediately, shall we? And yeah, I will see you guys again soon. Take care. Enjoy your night, or enjoy your evening, or enjoy your day, no matter where you are in the world. Peace.